Okay, guys, this is the second of our series in relation to the government stimulus package. In this section, we're going to actually look at businesses looking to invest. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is a section called Business Looking to Invest. Some of the slides on this one is very similar to the businesses who employ. There's the first few slides are very different, but the remaining slides are similar. So if you've already seen that one, maybe drop out after these first couple of slides. Now, as mentioned with the previous slides, this is up to date as of the 22nd of March, being yesterday. If there's any further changes that happen, obviously we'll update as you go, okay? Once again, many of the announcements here that we've been provided with do lack detail. We are waiting on the legislation. So what we're bringing you is information according to the announcements that have been made. There are other vlogs we're going to be completing today and tomorrow that are going to be uploaded on our website and put on Facebook. That is going to be one focusing on businesses who do not have employees, one that talks about individuals and retirees, and another one which is called supporting employees. So keep an eye out for these. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the federal government announcements that have happened in relation to the stimulus package that has recently been announced. And what we're going to start with is the investment in new equipment. This is where you spend under $150,000. Now, the applicable dates on this is any investment purchase, an investment purchase after the 12th of March to the 30th of June, okay? These are the dates that are applicable, and your turnover of your organisation has to be under 500 million, which I'm presuming most people who listen to this will be well under, okay? Now, what it allows is a one-off purchase of $150,000. You'll have an immediate tax deduction when you lodge your tax return. So when they say immediate, you don't get any benefit right now, but on lodging your tax return, you will. Now, there's a couple of things here that we are really looking to hear about the detail, okay? So, for example, one of the items is about cars. Cars have a depreciation limit of around about $55,000. So if you are purchasing a new car for $100,000, we don't think you're going to be able to claim the full amount of that car above that car depreciation limit. Once again, we're just waiting on detail before we can give you certainty around it. The other question we've got is in regards to what we call the SBE pool. So for most small businesses, your assets are put in a pool and depreciated around about 30% per year. Under the current legislation, if that pool balance goes below 30,000, you're allowed to write the entire pool balance off as a deduction. What we suspect is that this might also increase to $150,000. So you might find that purchases before this date of 12th of March might end up being able to be eligible for the claim. So we just need to keep an eye on this, because that might be a great deduction for businesses who have a pool balance of $150,000. Now, importantly, the legislation currently allows for this immediate write-off. It reverts back to $1,000 after 1 July. So obviously the government are trying to create a little bit of supply-demand situation where they want you to be spending before 30th of June. So this is the first announcement we're going to talk about, investments in new equipment of under $150,000. The next announcement in regards to investment in equipment was if you spent over $150,000. Now, the changes on this one is that if you spend over $150,000, you will get a 50% deduction on the cost of that equipment. Then you can use the existing depreciation rules. So if we take an example of a crane, if you were to buy a $200,000 crane, what you'd be able to claim is $100,000 as the 50%, and then generally you'd claim 15% of the remaining $100,000. So in that instance, you'd be able to claim $115,000 depreciation in the first year. Now, the applicable dates to this one are extended. So this one actually goes from the 12th of March to the 30th of June, 2021. So you've essentially got, 15 months in order to make this purchase. Now, the assets have to be installed ready for use before you can claim it. So if you are making a purchase late in June 2021, the asset has to be installed. The other requirement around this one, from what we can see, is it has to be a brand new asset. You cannot buy secondhand assets. Once again, because it's only been an announcement, we're not 100% certain about the details, but that's what we read at this point. And to be eligible for this, your turnover has to be under $500 million, like the previous one, And importantly as well, it does not apply to buildings. Buildings are not depreciated in the normal sense. And so if you were to buy a new shed or do an extension to a factory, that wouldn't be covered under this investment. Now, the last federal government announcement is around the ATO, who have announced they'll provide a range of services to business clients. So the first one the ATO are offering is they will offer payment deferrals for those clients who are struggling and impacted by COVID-19. So keep an eye on that one with your cash flow. They're also going to allow businesses and individuals to vary their PAYG tax instalments in the next couple of business activity statements. So that's your company tax and your personal tax, where you pay quarterly and in advance. They are also allowing a variation to FBT instalments as well as excise instalments. The other concession the ATO are allowing is a change in your reporting periods if your turnover is under $20 million. So if you're a business that normally gets a GST refund and lodged quarterly, the ATO are actually allowing you to switch to a monthly lodgement system, which will allow you to get that GST refund quicker. Just need to note that what will happen is that if you do make that change, you're going to have to stay on that for 12 months. So be aware of the extra bookkeeping work applicable to that. The other concession that ATO are allowing is that with the PAYG instalments your company or individuals have already paid this year, they will actually allow you to do a variation to get that back if you need to. So think about the PAYG instalments you paid in September and December. You may be able to get those varied and refunded. You should get some advice from an accountant around that, because it just means that you'll have to pay it later if you do end up having a large tax bill. The final two announcements the ATO have provided is they are going to remit interest on any penalties incurred after the 23rd of January 2020. And finally, the ATO have offered low interest payment terms should you need to get that. We really do encourage clients to talk to the ATO about their payment obligations. Now, the next section we're going to talk about is the state government announcements. There was 3 in particular that related to tax and payments, and 2 which are some support packages. So the first one is in relation to payroll tax. Now, what I'm going to talk here about is Victoria only, because most people who will be listening to this are based in Victoria. If you are from another state, then there are similar types of exemptions. And if you need some assistance, call your advisor here and we can talk to you specifically about your state. As I said, I'm just going to talk about Victoria at the moment. So to be eligible for payroll tax relief in Victoria, you have to have a payroll of less than $3 million, which should encompass most small businesses. The State Revenue Office are going to provide a refund of all instalments already paid. So any instalments paid for the July through to February reconciliation periods, you will get those refunded. Further to that, there are going to be no further instalments for the remainder of the year. However, they're still going to require you to lodge returns in order to declare what you've actually paid. Finally, they're going to allow a deferral of payroll tax for the first 3 months of the 2021 financial year. Now, you don't need to do anything in order to get this refund if you're eligible. The State Revenue Office are going to be contacting you to arrange those refunds. The next announcement by the state government was in regards to liquor licenses. Pretty simple, this one. What they're going to do is they're going to refund any already paid liquor license fees. And if you haven't paid it, they're essentially allowing you to not pay it. This does only apply to the current financial year, 2020 financial year. And once again, you don't have to do anything to get this. If you've already paid it, the State Revenue Office will be in contact to issue the refund. Finally, in regards to land tax, there is a deferral arrangement for land tax, but importantly, it's only eligible for non-residential land holders who have non-residential holdings of below $1 million. So if you fall in that category and you would have got your land tax bill within the last month, the State Revenue Office are allowing you to defer payment until the 31st of December 2020. Importantly, you need to understand this is a deferral only. There is no money that is going to be refunded. They are just allowing you to defer the payment. The state government have also announced a business support fund. Now, $500 million is going to be allocated to fund, and it's there to support the hospitality, tourism, accommodation, arts, entertainment, and retail businesses. Now, the businesses eligible for this are only those businesses who are not eligible for the payroll tax relief we just talked about. Now, at the moment, there's been no further details, so we can't give you much more, apart from the State Revenue Office have said, or the government have said, they'll be working with the Victorian Chamber and Australian Hotel Association on how to administer it. So keep an eye out for further details, and once we know more, we'll let you know. Finally, the state government have announced a Working for Victoria fund. Once again, the information is relatively scant on this. It was just an announcement. The Victorian government are allocating $500 million to this fund, and it's designed to help workers who have lost their jobs. So what it looks like at the moment, the example we've been given at the moment is if you've lost your job, you may be able to get a new opportunity, for example, cleaning public infrastructure. Once again, the information is scant on this, so once we know more information, we'll let you know. We're now just going to have a quick look at the banks, because the banks have made some announcements, and you should absolutely be talking to your banks if you find you're in a cash flow crisis. So the first one is in regards to deferral of loan payments. So this one has been across the news. Now, at the moment, they're only talking about business loans, okay? They are not talking about residential loans, but each bank also does have financial hardship provisions that do allow these sorts of things. So you should be speaking to your bank. So at the moment, they've talked about deferral of payments for around about 6 months, but they haven't really said what loans it doesn't apply to. And that's why we're telling everybody to speak to your banker, regardless of what sort of debt you have. Now, just to keep an eye out on one thing that we've noticed is that interest will probably continue to accrue even if you're not making payments. So importantly, you need to understand that at the end of 6 months, your debt may be higher than you started because interest will continue to accrue. That's what we're seeing at the moment. Now, as I mentioned before, the announcement has been around business loans, but if you've got personal loans, especially if you're a small business and you have a residential loan, you should be speaking to your banker. Now, in terms of who you should speak to, each bank will generally have a helpline. You should make a call to that if you do not have a personal banker to talk to them about your circumstances. The next one the government has announced is in regards to new loans. So the government have put up a fund which will allow business to make new borrowings up to $250,000. And the government are going to guarantee 50% of that loan, with the bank essentially guaranteeing the rest. So these are notionally called unsecured loans. Now, we don't have any further detail on that yet, and I'm sure the banks are still working on the detail there. So let's keep an eye out and see what comes out of it. Okay, that's it for this particular presentation. As mentioned, there are another 3 presentations that are going to come in this series. We urge everybody to continue to support local businesses where possible. And at Pursuit Advisors, we do offer a 15-minute complimentary phone call to discuss how the stimulus package will work for you. So if you do have any questions, please call us on 56 233 778. And remember, if you are struggling with the mental effects of coronavirus and need someone to talk to, make sure you contact Beyond Blue. Thank you.